Welcome back everyone to a video, and today we are doing my two early top 10 quarterback rankings for the 2025 NFL season. Doesn't even sound real saying the 2025 NFL season, but yeah, sure enough, doing this about however many months out. I did this last year as well. I'm just going to do it again now. So if you guys didn't see the one last year, or just to give you guys context anyways, basically these are my two early rankings for quarterbacks going into the 2025 NFL season. So of course, a lot of this will be based on their performance from this past season, but also take this with a grain of salt. This is very, very hard to do at the point in which I'm doing it because free agency has not happened yet, the draft has not happened yet, and any other trades and whatnot that can happen as well. So, for example, over other off seasons where the Bears ended up trading for DJ Moore mid-season, and then they draft Roma Dunze, and they bring in Keenan Allen. So for example, I guess that off season drafting Roma Dunze and Keenan Allen, I wouldn't have known that if I was doing the ranking then. For Caleb Williams, if that makes sense. So a lot can change is all I'm trying to say. So just remember that obviously these might look a little weird because I'm trying to guess what things might look like. But again, they're not going to be perfect because it's impossible because we just don't know the moves people are going to make. But regardless, I do want to get these out because I think they are definitely just worth it to do because it is interesting to kind of make that early jump and see what quarterbacks might rise even higher and build off their previous season. So let's get right into it. Now, first, I have the players to watch tier. So last year I did this and I put Kyler Murray in it, which I mean, I'm actually wearing his shirt right now. I like Kyler a lot. Panthers fan, but I do like Kyler a lot. He disappointed a little bit, so hopefully I can hit better with that tier right now. So I have it as players. There's one player I want to definitely highlight, and that is going to be Caleb Williams. And the reason I want to highlight him, I'm not saying he's going to be a top 10 quarterback. That's why it is just the players to watch, because I think he can make a push at it. And if you want to know why, at least in my opinion, I see that, it's because of the narrative this past year of, oh, he can't do this. He's constantly pressured, but just trying to put the blame on Caleb. It's very similar to what Bryce Young went through his first season when he got a ton of hate. People said he was terrible. People said he was a bust. Then after 1 year, they adjust, what needed to be adjusted. They got him more weapons. They built a ton on the offensive line. And all of a sudden, halfway through the year after being benched, Bryce put together and he's looking really, really good, going into next season. So I think Caleb Williams is the same way. This guy's very talented, and I think you would have to try not to see that watching this past year. There were throws that he was making that were amazing, and they either just didn't get enough attention or no one cared because the Bears were out of the game because they were losing. But a lot of that is due to poor coaching, which, again, Caleb went through already one offensive coordinator in his first season. He now has a new head coach, which obviously was the home run hit hiring Ben Johnson. So a lot can change, and I think Caleb will be the one to benefit the most from that. But the offensive line has to be, obviously changed. With that said, though, Caleb Williams, if everything goes right, I think he can have a huge bounce back season. I'll put a couple more guys in there, but right now, let's go to number 10 on my list. And the 10th best quarterback entering next season, as of right now, in my opinion, is actually going to be CJ Stroud. Stroud's a hard one to rank because he had an amazing rookie year and then a bit of a sophomore slump. To be fair, he also had, Tank Dell go down for the year. He had Stephon Diggs go down for the year. So it wasn't a perfect situation. But that being said, Stroud also underperformed at times and didn't look great, at least not as good as he did his first year. But again, it's very easy to get caught up in that and say, oh, he's declining. Oh, he's not focused. When, next year, I think he's going to be much better than his second year, to be honest with you. I'll be interested to see what moves they make because you're going to lose. Like, you don't have Tank Dell for the entire year. You still have Nico Collins, who is an amazing wide receiver. No Tank Dell for the whole year. Stephon Diggs, does he stay? Does he leave? What's that look like with his ACL tear rehab? It's weird, but Stroud's a great quarterback, and despite all that, I think he is still a top 10 quarterback going into next season. Coming at number 9 here, this is going to be a really weird one for a lot of people. It's going to be the Super Bowl MVP, Jalen Hurts. Now, to be clear, okay, I did not bump him down. I actually had Hurts out of my top 10 prior to this season. I had him at I think 12 entering last season, just because I think Hurts is a good quarterback, but I don't think he's an elite quarterback. I think he's like a tier down or so from that. And the thing, before all the Eagles fans get upset at me, that I would be very clear about, is it doesn't mean it's a bad thing. Because as you just saw, the Eagles had an amazing season in which they almost went undefeated, won a Super Bowl, So why does it really matter where we put Hurts as far as in terms of elite or if I have him down a tier, in my opinion? Like obviously we're gonna debate this because it's sports and it's interesting and it is worth to debate it. But in my opinion, if you're winning games and your quarterback is playing the role he's supposed to, I mean, it doesn't really matter where a guy like me ranks him as long as you're, a fan of your team, or as long as you as a fan are watching your favorite team win Super Bowls. That's the goal. With all that being said, though, and I've said this before, I think Hurts does his job. He doesn't, I don't think, elevate all these guys around him, but he does great in the offense that is built for him. Obviously, get down the 1 yard line, tush push, whatever. Hurts has underrated accuracy, in my opinion. I think with his receivers, they're able to separate just, so well, especially Devontae Smith, probably the most underrated receiver in the entire NFL, in my opinion. Does not get enough love. And Hurts does great operating that offense. So, again, am I going to say this guy is as good as Joe Burrow? No, because I don't think he is. But I think having him out of the top 10 was probably a little unfair to him. I'm more comfortable now where I have him ranked. So I have him as low as 9 right now. I could always move him up before next season starts because there's still plenty of time to do so. But right now, I love the way he ended the season. His season as a whole was very strong, definitely consistent. So a lot of credit to Hurts there, but I have him at number 9. And then at number 8, I actually have Justin Herbert. And so that might look weird because of Herbert's playoff performance. But you go back at this season, the Chargers were not supposed to be very good at all. This was a rebuilding year for them. They lost their top 2 receivers in Mike Williams and Keenan Allen. You draft Ladd McConkey from Georgia. You bring in Jim Harbaugh from college. You bring in J.K. Dobbins. You bring in Gus Edwards. It was a complete overhaul of basically everyone on the offense except Justin Herbert. And things went great. Herbert had like 3 interceptions all year until that playoff game when he threw like a million. So I think he's a great quarterback. I would not have Herbert top 5. I think, especially where the offense is now, it kind of caps off at what he's able to do. I still think he's a top 10 quarterback, but I don't think the offense is strong enough for him to really be able to, make those Mahomes tier kind of pushes with the offense around. I think he does a great job. He keeps the ball safe. Unbelievable arm, obviously. I'm really excited to see him and Ladd in year 2. But again, I wouldn't quite have him in the top 5 talks, at least as of right now. And then next, okay, and I'm not hearing anybody out on this. Next is Baker Mayfield. And I do not want to hear anybody saying Baker's not good, Baker's not this. Baker Mayfield has got so much hate at times in the NFL. Even though if you look at his career, let's go back to Cleveland. Terrible coaching the entire time with not great weapons. I would say, average weapons. He did have Amari Cooper there, to be fair, but not great. And then he goes to Carolina, where Matt Rule is the coach. Yes, you have Christian McCaffrey. Yes, you have DJ Moore. Baker wasn't great there, but you just might not be a great fit everywhere, and that's okay. He then goes to the Rams, wins an amazing Thursday night football game on a day's notice, and then goes to Tampa Bay, where it's a stable situation where they believe in him. They have competent coaching, great receivers, and Baker balls out. This guy's had more offensive coordinators than he has years in the NFL. So the fact that he is, passing leader, 40 plus touchdowns. Yeah, he threw a lot of interceptions, but Baker's a good quarterback. I won't hear anybody out on that. I have no idea if that bit worked because the light might have been shining on it, so maybe you couldn't read it, but whatever. I'm putting Baker at 6th, honestly, or that's not 6th. That's 6th. No, that's 7th. Sorry, math is hard, but seriously, I think Baker Mayfield, I think he's one of the more underappreciated quarterbacks in the NFL. He's a tough player. He makes the runs that they need. If it's a 3rd and 8 and he sees space, he's going, he is lowering his shoulder, really puts it all on the line for his team. I respect Baker a lot, and I do think he's an amazing quarterback. Another player to watch next year, to go back down to that tier. Now, I might seem biased. I don't really care. I'm throwing Bryce Young in there. Anyone that watched Bryce Young's final 8 games knows that this looked like a completely different quarterback than he was prior to that. Like, literally his entire NFL career up until then, it looked terrible. This guy nearly beat the Chiefs and the Eagles. He should have beat the Buccaneers. He should beat the Falcons again. He ended the year on a 5 touchdown game, but just no one cared because, it was other playoff implications going on. The Panthers sucked. So Bryce Young's a great quarterback in my opinion. I'm excited to see him take that next step next year. Sometimes all it takes is just somebody believing in you, getting your confidence back. That offense is definitely getting better. Revamping the offensive line was must needed. Obviously, it showed just how important that was. They re-signed Dalton just a couple days ago. Again, as a backup, I think he's done a great job mentoring Bryce. So Bryce Young is definitely a guy to watch. I'm not going to say he's going to make a top 10 quarterback leap. I would love that as a fan, but I do think he's someone to watch who, like Caleb Williams, has been disrespected way too much, way too early into their careers, in my opinion. And then to close out, the bottom 5 in the top 10 is going to be Jared Goff. Now, I think Goff's a great quarterback. He, it's a disappointing end to the Lions season, getting upset by Jayden Daniels, who you guys might have realized is not on here yet, so just give me a moment. But Goff's a great quarterback. He operates the Lions offense, exactly how he's supposed to. They just have tons of talent everywhere. Amon-Ra St. Brown, Sam Laporta, Jahmyr Gibbs, David Montgomery. Why can't I think of his name? The really fast guy from Alabama who tore his ACL at one point. I don't know why I can't think of his name. I'm blanking really hard. It's really funny because I literally cannot think of his name for some reason. I'm just going to keep going. But regardless, Goff is great. I think the Lions are very good as long as he is there and the offense looks the way it does. I do think they are, contenders for a Super Bowl. However, losing both your coordinators who are arguably the top coordinators in the entire league in the same offseason might set them back a little bit, but I don't want to overstate those losses because the Lions still have a lot of talent, and I don't want to discredit them because I do think Goff's a great quarterback. Jameson Williams, I don't know why I could not think of that for the longest time. And so then, for the top 5 in year 2, I have Jayden Daniels at 5. I think Jayden Daniels is amazing. I'm going to be honest. And maybe I'm jumping the gun here. Actually, no, I probably am jumping the gun. I don't really care. I'm putting Jayden Daniels at 5. This was a Washington team that I believe if you were to place money on at the beginning of last season, their win total, okay, you had to either bet over or under. It was like 3.5. Okay, you would get your money if you thought they would win 4 games, and they went to the NFC Championship. That is unbelievable, first off, in year 1 for really any, new head coach, new quarterback, whatever it is. Beating those expectations that badly is, incredible. Jayden Daniels, though, doing it as a rookie, when you come into the offense, you have your wide receiver 2 traded like a week before the season started. Jahan Dotson was on that roster. He was going through training camp. He was at all the meetings. He was doing whatever, and he's shipped off. And so it's like, wow, they just don't care about winning at all, apparently. And turns out they did care about winning. I guess that's what needed to happen for them to hit that next level. But seriously, Jayden Daniels and Terry McLaurin is one of the most exciting duos to watch in the entire NFL this past year, in my opinion. So you had him. You had Zach Ertz, who was phenomenal despite his age down the stretch. He was very, very strong for them. You had Zacchaeus coming in clutch at times. It was just a very, very good offense. And it would not have happened that way if it wasn't for Jayden Daniels. And I'm not going to lie. In my opinion, I think there's a lot of similarities between him and Lamar Jackson. I think it just looks effortless the way they throw the football. And obviously, they're both very mobile. They have great vision. But I seriously think there are parallels there. I think Jayden Daniels is very special. If you guys have been around my channel for a while now, and if you haven't, you can go check out my past videos for rankings or whatever. I'm usually fairly conservative when I put guys in the top 5. And stuff like that. Like, I always like to see a little bit more before I do it. I take risks sometimes with rankings, but not always. So for me to put a second-year quarterback in the top 5, it means I had to have seen a lot. And in my opinion, I think Daniels, he hits everything, all the boxes. He has it all, in my opinion. So I hope they can, continue to stay on track. It's a very special team, very exciting division as well between the Eagles and the Commanders. Giants are, a joke as of right now, and the Cowboys are struggling. But seriously, Daniels is great. I'm putting him top 5 going into next year, and maybe that makes you look bad and he goes into a sophomore slump like Stroud. I don't know. But I think the talent is absolutely there. Next is number 4. So I think everyone knows who the top 4 is because, in my opinion, the top 4 is basically the same to most people. Unless you're like a fan of the Eagles, maybe you'd put Stroud that high, or maybe you'd put Hurts that high. Or, maybe if you're a Texans fan, you would put Stroud that high. But in my opinion, the top 4 amongst pretty much all NFL fans are Mahomes, Lamar, Burrow, and Josh Allen in all kinds of different orders. And going into next year, I am going to put Josh Allen at 4, which is going to look really bad because he just won an MVP. But let me at least just say my opinion on this first. In my opinion, Lamar Jackson was more deserving of the MVP. I think he had the more impressive season. I think, he just won it, so maybe it was like, oh, we got to give it to Josh this time, or maybe they felt Lamar didn't deserve it last year, so this is kind of making up for the one then. I don't really know what really went into it, but Lamar was kind of better in every statistical category. I mean, not to discredit Josh, okay? He's a great quarterback. I just felt Lamar deserved that award more. Also, I feel like Joe Burrow, if the Bengals were competitive, also deserved that award more. I think he had the better year. I think it was more impressive because the Bengals were so unbelievably bad. I can't even imagine what the record would have been without Joe Burrow on that team. So I felt both of them were more deserving of the award, although, of course, Burrow wouldn't have won it because, again, the Bengals weren't competitive. With that said, Josh did have a great year. He is a phenomenal quarterback, and he has deserved an MVP before, in my opinion. Maybe it wasn't this year. It is fitting he's an NFL MVP winner. I just don't think it should have been done this year. Despite all that, Josh Allen, great quarterback. As long as he's in Buffalo, they are going to be competitive. I panicked a little bit when they lost some guys this past year. I had him going 9-8. Obviously, they surpassed that. Had a great year. Still could not get over the Chiefs in the playoffs, though. Really big bummer. Feel bad for Josh, but Mahomes 4-0 now in the playoffs against the Bills. With that said, I don't think he's dropping out of the top four. I honestly, for the top four that I've already named, I don't think any of them are dropping out of the top four. I don't see why I would put any of them lower. So Josh just happens to be in the lowest of the phenomenal tier, okay, if that makes sense. And right after Josh Allen, I'm going to have Joe Burrow. Again, Burrow had an incredible season, one of the best in a very long time, honestly. You could probably put him up there in some kind of all-time season as well for a quarterback. I know he broke a lot of records for most, I think, 300-yard passing games, I think, consecutively. Could be wrong about that, but it was something along those lines. Unbelievable. You have a 3-year-old, 4-year-old winning the Triple Crown too. Burrow and Chase, really special duo. You have to do all you can to keep them together for, hopefully their entire careers there in Cincinnati. But yeah, Burrow's a great quarterback. In my opinion, I think he had the better year than Josh Allen. I think he just barely gets the edge over Josh Allen, and I think next year things will be even better for the Bengals because in some games they quite honestly just got unlucky. I mean, they couldn't hold a ball correctly on a kick. Against the Chiefs, they get a dumb pass interference call, which to be fair was, I think, the right call, but just a dumb mistake to make at that point in time. There were just a lot of things that could have gone better for them that just didn't. So I think next year you kind of regroup. Joe Burrow definitely reminded everybody who he is and just how good he is because I think after those injuries, injury prone was thrown around, overrated, whatever. I think all that was put to rest. He is a top 3 quarterback in the NFL, in my opinion. Some people might have him 1 or 2. All valid, in my opinion, but I have him there at 3. And then at 2, I have Patrick Mahomes. I have Mahomes at 2 head into next year. Now, let me just be clear on this. I do think overall, Mahomes is probably the most talented and the best quarterback in the NFL. That doesn't always mean that he's going to have the best year, if that makes sense. Now, to be fair, I do think everyone that is celebrating that the Chiefs lost a Super Bowl and, they're gone, whatever, they're not going anywhere. Like, as long as you have Mahomes, you're going to be competitive. He also gets Hollywood Brown now for an entire season, assuming he's back. You get Rashee Rice back for an entire season. You get Xavier Worthy in year 2. Like, they are not going to be out of the contenders for Super Bowls or anything. Like, that's just a little overblown in my opinion. With that said, though, I think as great as Mahomes is, the offense still, there's things to be done, at least as of right now. And again, that's why I'm doing this now. This is too early. Who knows what this might look like 4 months from now. But as of right now, I don't think he has the best situation around him, compared to the person I have in first. Also, coming off the year he had, that's why I have Mahomes there at 2 instead of 1. I still think he's a phenomenal quarterback and going to go down as one of the best ever. I think he already is considered one of the best ever. So just, to get all that out there for all the Chiefs fans might freak out that I have him at 2. He's going to be 2. And I'm putting Lamar Jackson at 1. I think Lamar is the best quarterback in the NFL heading into next season. He was absolutely MVP in my opinion. I think he had a phenomenal year. You now have, Derrick Henry, assuming he's back. Zay Flowers, who's amazing. It needs to be a bit more consistent, I guess, but he got banged up a little bit. Isaiah Likely. It's a special offense, and Lamar's able to make guys that don't always, do a whole lot on their own. He's able to get open. He's able to go off script, make them redirect, and he puts them in spots to succeed. Guys like Rashad Bateman, who not necessarily a bad receiver, but would he be doing that there in, Tampa Bay? Probably not. No hate to Baker, but it just probably wouldn't be happening. But what Lamar does, he elevates everyone else on that team. So does Mahomes. So does Josh Allen. So does Joe Burrow. And so does Jayden Daniels. And that's really what that tier is about for me right now. That's why that's the top 5. Going into next year, too early. This will likely look much different by next August, and it will probably look much different by, after the draft, to be honest with you. But that's what it looks like right now. One final player to put in players to watch, though, that's going to be Sam Darnold. The reason I have him there is because Darnold had a great year. At one point in the year, he was top 10. He was top 5, honestly, make the case for it as well. Bad end of the season, but he proved he is good enough to be a starter in the NFL, and I would have a hard time thinking he just goes somewhere as a backup. So definitely a guy to watch in the sense of, let's see where he ends up, and then, we'll do some evaluating from there. But that's just kind of how I see that. Those are some players to watch. That's my top 10 too early quarterbacks going into next season. Let me know down below what you guys think of the video. And just to be clear, if you have Mahomes at 1, I don't need a whole paragraph. I completely understand it. That is valid. Same as having Josh Allen at 3 or Josh Allen at 2. I'm not kidding. The top 4 is very interchangeable for me. Jayden Daniels, I guess, is kind of like my hot take of the video, I guess, putting a year 2 guy in the top 5, but I do think he's special. So, with all that being said, if you guys enjoyed, be sure to subscribe down below. It is free and takes just a second. I would really appreciate all the support there on the road to 1,000 subscribers. I'll have more rankings like this out pretty soon. A bit inconsistent with my uploads recently, so I apologize about that, but I'll have more rankings out soon. Drafts coming up, and then we'll, after that, start doing some videos talking about teams going into the next year. Honestly, time kind of flies from that end of Super Bowl through draft, in my opinion. You get through the combine, all that. It goes quicker than you think. So, yeah, all that content on the way. Thanks for watching. I'll see you in the next one. Peace out.